What's going on, Trailblazers? Sam here, back at it again for another video. And it's been quite some time since I posted any HSR content. And no, this isn't a drama video. In fact, I actually just wanted to take some time to discuss our current cast of characters, put them in a tier list before Penacony releases. Penacony is really our first huge major update in HSR, and I just wanted to take some time to, kind of rank the current cast of characters that we have before we enter kind of this new stage and archetype of HSR. So let's jump right in. Now let's start off with the easy peasy lemon squeezy ones. Ruan Mei, absolutely insane character. The fact that they made a character this good just kind of boggles my mind, and the fact that Sparkle might be just as good, if not better, blows my mind as well. But she lowers all resistance pen and improves break effect efficiency, increases speed. This character is insane. I mean, like, when I use her on one side of MOC or Pure Fiction, it is such a significant boost that when I go to use the other team, I'm like, dang, can I clone Ruan Mei? Like, she is absolutely busted. Jing Liu, still S tier. I think she is still the best DPS in the game, in my opinion. My personal favorite DPS, she's just kind of cozy and very fluid. I think everything in her kit works really, really well. Just honestly, an amazing DPS character and top tier. Hua Hua, very, very, very good character. I'm actually kind of bummed I don't have her, but she, gives massive amounts of energy, increases attack. She has a cleanse. Honestly, an insane character. Works very well with Jing Liu. Obviously, works really well with Argenti. All in all, excellent, excellent, excellent character. Luocha, still S tier. Arguably, probably the best healer in the game still. However, I don't think he's the best sustained character. I think that title belongs to Fu Xuan. I just think Fu Xuan is so cozy and comfy to use. Like, realistically, whichever side of my MOCs has Fu Xuan, I just feel super secure. Luocha, I do feel a little at ease because, enemies do be hitting really hard, and I know he can heal a massive amount, but just sometimes the way RNG works, I just feel more comfortable with Fu Xuan. But both of them, including Hua Hua, are still S tier. Bronya, do I need to say anything? The fact that this is a standard character is insane. I think if you have Bronya and maybe you haven't selected your, select the 5-star, you should consider E1 Bronya because it takes her even to another level because 50% of the time you can get a skill point back. Pela, I think she's still S tier. One of the best resistance shredders in the game. I love the fact that her resistance goes to the entire enemy team. And also, if you use her skill, it can lower enemy resistances to ice, which pairs really well with Jing Liu. Ting Yun, also still S tier. Man, I have a lot of S tier characters. I'm basic, but we all know how good little Fox Lady is. Gives massive amounts of energy. Pairs really well with Dan Heng. Pairs really well with Dr. Ratio. Pairs really well with any DPS. She's just an insane character. Again, the fact that she is a 4-star, it boggles my mind. Danny Boy, I do think Danny Boy is still S tier. I do think he has fallen off a little bit, but I do think he is still top tier. I personally still really like him. I do think he has the potential to get a significant boost with the release of Sparkle as well. But I just think Jing Liu it just feels a little better. It feels a little bit more consistent. But all in all, Dan Heng is a phenomenal DPS character. Clara, I love this character. I don't even have her, but Sparg is an absolute unit. I really like this character. On my select the 5-star, I'm really torn between getting her and E1 Bronya. She's really good in Pure Fiction, pretty good in MOC. If you're able to make sure she's the one getting aggroed, she hits like an absolute unit. Argenti, I do think Argenti is very good. Obviously, if we're talking about Pure Fiction, he's probably at the front of the class. But I don't know. The double burst is cool. It does a tremendous amount of damage. But I do think he kind of depends on top tier supports just a little bit more so than, Jing Liu and Dan Heng. So for me, that knocks him down a little bit. He's probably ahead of Clara, though. But all in all, still a phenomenal character. I do think he is still one of the best DPSs in the game, obviously. But I just think for me, there's other options that I prefer. Jing Yuan, I do think Jing Yuan has definitely kind of had a resurgence Ever since his release, I do think he's gotten better. For me, I just don't love the way Lightning Lord functions. It seems kind of a little bit counterintuitive and clunky at times. But all in all, I still think he's a very good character. I think if you want him, he can definitely carry you through a significant amount of the content. Lynx, love Lynx. Wish I had her E6. Phenomenal, phenomenal character. Um, she pairs very well with Blade because she can give Blade some extra HP. But all in all, and she's got a team wide cleanse. Great, 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 great character. Silverwolf. Silverwolf is very interesting. She is an amazing debuffer. Obviously, she is only able to do it single target. But I think if we put Pella up in S, we probably have to put Silverwolf up in S as well. I do. I just prefer Pella. I think Primo Gem, or Stellar Jade being Stellar Jade. If you have E6 Pella, there's no real need to go for Silverwolf. I know her gimmick is, a lot different and it is really effective, but I don't know. I do feel like, she's fallen off a little bit, but I still think she's an amazing character. She's obviously really good for MOC and pure fiction. Kafka. Kafka is A tier. I think she's going to probably get a really significant boost with Black Swan, obviously, but she does really well in pure fiction as well. She's kind of more of a, specialist or, a unique unit because, DOT is still kind of trying to get its footing in the meta, but I still think she is a very solid character. Blade, I love Blade. I still think Blade has a significant amount of room to grow. I mean, he's really only gotten links that actually boosts HP. I mean, there's got to be a character down the road that's going to, be a full-on, HP scaling, boosting specialist. So I do think there is a lot of potential for Blade to improve. I mean, one of my favorite teams is Blade with Jing Liu, with Ruan Mei, and another sustained character. It just flows so well. So does Blade hit the hardest? No, absolutely not. But he's very user friendly. Like you don't even have to worry about him. You slot him on your team. You're just like, hey Blade, how you doing? He's like, oh, bro, I'm chilling. I'm always chilling. So really, really, really like Blade. Asta. Asta's a great unit. I do think she's A tier. Gives a good speed boost. Gives a good attack boost. If you're fighting against fire weak enemies, she's obviously can provide pretty good break as well. Here's where it gets interesting. Now, Sealy and QQ. Now, Seela, love this character. First DPS, I actually got her E1. But I think if we're talking about her at E0, I don't know if she's S tier anymore. Like, I really don't know. Like, yes, in certain situations, if she's cracked out and you're able to proc, her resurgence, obviously she's S tier. But I just think on the whole, night in, night out, I think if you're fighting really strong bosses that don't have ads all the time, she definitely falls off. So I think, I think she's very, 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 very high A tier. Maybe she squeaks into low S tier. But, I do have this character, so I do think I can speak from experience. QQ, I mean, you got to put QQ right next to, if not right above, Seela. I mean, at E6, QQ actually does more damage than Seela. Super insane character. I'm really curious to see, how crazy she can get with the additional Sparkle. And, who knows? If I get Sparkle, maybe I'll build my QQ and slap everybody around with some game tiles. Dr. Ratio, great, great character. I want to say he probably fits comfortably, right here. Doesn't really matter. Great character. The fact that he is free is phenomenal. You can put the light cone from Herder Shop on him, slap on some, good artifacts. This dude carries. He literally just helped me beat the new MOC. He was slapping Kafka. I know it's geared to help him, and improve his effectiveness, but really, really solid character. Really fun to use. I kind of am starting to appreciate the follow-up meta. I do think it's kind of fun. These characters that just keep popping off, popping off, popping off. It's a lot of fun. And speaking of follow-up, I do think Topaz is a pretty good unit as well. She's not very good for pure fiction, but I do think for MOC she shines, and you can definitely pair her with Dr. Ratio, Ruan Mei, and you can get some pretty nutty and fun follow-up attacks going. But all in all, I do think Topaz is pretty solid. Hanya, I do think Hanya is a very good unit as well. She can give a good speed boost to a specific unit. I think at E6 she definitely ramps up pretty significantly. Her burden on her skill is pretty cool the way it functions. So I actually just randomly got her from the standard banner, so I'm looking forward to building her up in the coming days. Himiko. Now, Himiko used to be probably B tier. She still might be, but with how hard she just carried me in Pure Fiction, like I built Himiko just for Pure Fiction, and honestly, I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna slide her up to A tier. Realistically, in MOC, her damage output isn't nearly as good. She really is meant for Pure Fiction, but I do think if you build her properly, obviously you pair her with some really cracked supports, I do think she can shine pretty well. And I don't know, shooting people with massive space lasers is fun. Her follow-ups are fun. Obviously, you know, you can be completely brain dead for farming, trash mobs. So I don't know. She kind of grew on me. I mean, she was technically my second 5-star, and I also got her, official light cone, and she was always just kind of sitting on the bench for me. But after Pure Fiction, I do really enjoy this character. We'll swap over to the other Pure Fiction aficionado. I still think Kurokuro is B tier. I know for Pure Fiction she's absolutely S tier, but Pure Fiction really isn't that challenging. It's really more of like kind of a fun, kind of trolly game mode. So if we're just looking at her on pure strength, I still think she's high B tier. I do think she has gotten her flowers a little bit more. And, I didn't build her because, you know, resources are limited, and I just built Himiko and I just built Dr. Ratio. So she didn't get any love, and I was able to beat Pure Fiction without her. So I do think, the fact that we can get her E6 for free definitely helps. But I don't know. I think on the whole, just a solid character. Serval, again, pretty solid, average. Her damage can be okay. I mean, if you don't have, Jing Yuan or Kafka, she can be a pretty good, uh, lightning AoE DPS. I think in Pure Fiction she does shine. But all in all, I think she's, a decent little B tier unit. Uh, Shu Yi, this character, kind of crazy. The fact that she can break toughness bars when she, of enemies that aren't quantum is pretty unique. I do think at E6, her damage output is good enough to put her in A. But the fact, the problem with, building and hyper investing in a 4-star DPSs is, even at E6, unless your name is QQ, you really just can't compete with the 5-star DPSs. And, Jing Liu came in and power crept a lot of DPSs. We know that there's going to be more power creep in the future. So I don't particularly invest in 4-star DPSs myself, but Shuyi is pretty cool. We'll use this one as physical traveler. C, D, doesn't really matter where you put him. Not a great unit. Who really uses physical traveler? Same goes for Arlen. Doesn't really matter where you put him. I think his gimmick is cool. The fact that he all his skills and everything is based on draining his HP, but just March, I do think at E6, March is kind of sneaky B tier. You can still pair her well with Clara. At E6, she can have pretty good utility, but there's just so much better preservation and sustained characters. It's not even funny. So, if you don't have any of them and maybe you stumbled into E6 March, I definitely would utilize her. But on the whole, there's just so many better characters that in her niche. Japard, I think Japard is solid B tier. Again, if you don't have the Fushwans or the Huahuas or Luochas of the world, yes, he's going to be your go-to. But again, these characters are just they're on a completely different tier. I mean, pun intended, literally and figuratively. They're just so much better than Japard. But I do think he has a lot of utility. As a standard character, I do think he is still pretty good. But, if it's me, I definitely want to target one of the other sustained characters. Flame Traveler, Trailblazer, sorry. Probably B tier. I mean, still a pretty good shielder. He's fun to use. Against a fire weak enemy, he can still provide some good break. But again, he's not touching Fushuan. He's not touching Luocha. He's not touching Huahua. So I think he's perfectly fine in B tier. Normal Danheng. Are we using this character? I mean, yes, he looks cool. He looks good, but just ah, ah. Same with Hook. I mean, I used to think, early on, E6 Hook was pretty fun. I think E6 Hook used to actually kind of outscale Himiko, but again, she's adorable. Totimokabai, but are we using her? Natasha, we'll sneak Natasha in to low B tier. I mean, if you don't have any other good healers, she technically at E6 is still a pretty decent healer, but you definitely have to be very mindful of your teammates when pairing her with Natasha, just because, you know, her ability to solo sustain in high floors of MOC just isn't there. Sampo, I do think Sampo is B tier. He's gonna get relegated to the Oblivion when Black Swan comes out, because technically he's still arguably Kafka's best friend for dot teams. Him and Gunaifen. I would put Gunaifen in B tier as well. But these two are they'll still be relevant. I mean, you could run a triple dot team potentially, but I think when Black Swan comes out, I think the best dot team obviously is going to be Black Swan, Kafka, and probably Ruan Mei. But for triple dot, I still think they're going to have some utility. Sushian, she's fine. I think she's fun. She used to be one of my hyper carries and hard carries early on in the game, but like I said about 4-star DPSs, they fall off very, very quickly. Bailu's B tier, good healer. Obviously, she falls off very hard because she doesn't have any cleanse baked into her kit. But if she's your only healer, she works. She definitely has a good enough amount of healing to keep your team alive. Welt's really interesting. I really like Welt. Another character I don't have. I think he can be kind of nutty by basically preventing teams from, the enemy teams from going. If you pair him with Ruan Mei, it gets kind of nutty. I think if you get some Eidolons from him, his damage scales pretty hard. So I'm going to slap him into A tier. Might be pushing it a little bit, but I like the character. I think he has pretty good utility. I think he's very versatile, and he looks like a dope teacher. I wish that he was my teacher back in high school. Yangshing. Yangshing. I remember when I got Yangshing, I was like, okay, I got my ice DPS. I'm never gonna get another ice DPS. Well, that lasted all of Jingliu. He just gets outscaled so quickly for DPSs. There's 4-star units that are better than him. So, if you have him, you can build him up. I mean, he gets a lot of crit rate and crit damage based on his abilities, but on the whole, I just think there's so many better DPS units, and there's gonna continue to be so many better DPS units. Yukong is fine. E6 Yukong is a pretty good support character. To me, she's not even close to the Branyas of the world, just because she is a lot more niche in the way that she boosts your team. I think if you are able to speed tune it properly and get everything ironed out, you can hit some crazy big numbers. But just for like pure consistency's sake, it's not really something I'm interested in. Obviously, I don't have E6, so I can't really test it. But on the whole, I do think she is a decent enough character. And then Luca. Luca is kind of cool. I think Luca on a good day slides into A tier, but we'll put him with his dot buddies, his dot homies. I think he's probably 1A, 1B to sample, with Gunaifen, but he has really good break with his skill, and he's just kind of fun to use. He can hit some pretty good damage, but again, with this lady down here lurking, I just think all these other dot 4-stars are going to just kind of fall by the wayside. But that's pretty much it. This is kind of the tier list that I had in mind heading into Penacony. We have some really, really dope 5-star characters coming in Penacony. We got Sparkle, we got Black Swan, we got Sam. We got Duke Inferno. We got some insane units. So I'm really excited. I'll actually be summoning for Black Swan myself. So I'm going to be looking forward to that, and hope this tier list helped you at all. And let me know in the comments, is it terrible? Normally my tier lists are pretty terrible, but let me know. Did I do all right? And I appreciate you all as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.